Another Monday means another episode of the Ask Me Anything series. This is the third episode of the season. I hope everybody had a fantastic weekend, and as always, I want to give a huge thank you to every single one of you who took the time to come up with a question and leave it on the post. Even the questions that I don't pick to be answered in the video, just know I read every single one, and I appreciate all of you guys. If this is your first time checking out the channel and you want NHL content just like this all year round, hit that subscribe button. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with the first question from Hayden Hallett, who says, I wanted to hear your thoughts on the tragic passing of Adam Johnson and if you think the NHL should create a rule that forces players to wear wrist/neck guards. First things first, I want to say rest in peace to Adam Johnson, and prayers and thoughts are with his family. There has been a GoFundMe fundraiser created for his family, so I will leave a link to that down below at the top of the description. This is obviously a tragic incident, and it sucks to be even talking about something like this right now. As far as your question about the wrist and neck guards go, yes, I think there should be a rule implemented at every single level of hockey, whether it's junior, professional, minor. As somebody who played hockey my whole life growing up, I always hated neck guards, extremely bulky and uncomfortable. But with the technology that is available today, the technology that is used to create equipment, there should 1000% be some kind of wrist/neck guards created that are almost perfect and are comfortable and are safe, that NHL players, especially, and professional players around the world would want to wear. And in regards to this argument about wrist guards and neck guards being mandatory, I've seen the counter argument be, well, this is one incident in, well over 100 years of the sport. In my opinion, one incident, one tragedy like this is one too many. There's been instances in the NHL where players have been slashed by skate blades. Thankfully, nothing fatal, but there's been some really close calls. And since the tragic passing of Adam Johnson in the few games that I've watched, it's just so much more noticeable, the open skin around players' necks and their wrists. And with how dangerous of a sport hockey is, how fast of a pace the game is played at, it's honestly kind of hard to believe that stuff like this doesn't happen more often. So I really do hope something is done to make the players more safe and to ensure that something like this never happens again. Once again, rest in peace to Adam Johnson. Prayers and thoughts go to his family, and again, the link to that GoFundMe in support of his family will be down below in the description. And now making a very tough transition to the next question. I don't really think there's any right way to go from talking about something like what happened to Adam Johnson to just a regular NHL question, but we're going to do our best here. This next question comes from Goran Devils 881, who says, do you think Luke Hughes is the Calder favorite as of now? He has 6 points in 8 games and has transformed the Devils power play into the league's best while playing surprisingly amazing defense. If the season ended today, Luke Hughes would be my Calder trophy pick. Like you mentioned, quarterbacking the league's best power play as a rookie, and for somebody who was labeled as an offensive defenseman coming into the NHL, he has not looked out of place defensively whatsoever. He's tied for the Devils team lead in points by defenseman with Dougie Hamilton. They each have 6 points in 8 games. Luke Hughes is playing close to 20 minutes a night. For me, Luke Hughes has checked all the boxes so far in terms of what I look for as the ideal Calder trophy candidate. He's impacted winning on a very good New Jersey Devils team. He's not playing sheltered minutes. The counting stats are there with the 6 points in 8 games, and the underlying numbers back up his play as well. So as of today, Luke Hughes would be my Calder trophy winner. The next question we have comes from a hockey fan who says, since Halloween is on Tuesday, I wanted to ask a Halloween related question. What's your favorite Halloween movie and what's your favorite Halloween candy? So anybody going out trick-or-treating tomorrow, stay safe, be responsible. I hope you all have a great time. I'm not really a big chocolate or candy guy, so I always liked getting like the little bags of chips when I was trick-or-treating as a kid growing up, so I'll probably go with them as my favorite Halloween candy, even though, chips aren't really a candy. And for my favorite Halloween movie, I'm a huge horror movie guy, so I would probably just go with the Halloween series, like the original ones, the Michael Myers movies. Moving along now to the next question. This one comes from K Bell, who says, do you think Matthew Poitras from Boston keep up this production and have a shot at winning the Calder? And also really appreciate the kind words. I'm glad you like the videos. Poitras has definitely been, to me, one of the most surprising rookies in the NHL so far. This isn't really a player that I was all that familiar with heading into the season. He spent last season in the OHL with the Guelph Storm. He was a second-round draft pick by the Boston Bruins in 2022. Considering where they drafted him and the fact that he's already in the NHL making an impact, looking like Boston got fantastic value with that pick. Heading into training camp and preseason this year for the Boston Bruins, there was jobs up for grabs with guys like Bergeron and Krejci retiring down the middle, and Poitras definitely made the most of that. He really has been an ideal third-line center so far this season for the Boston Bruins. He's chipping in offensively, 3 goals in and 5 points in 8 games. He's a +5. Not playing a ton of minutes, around 14 a night, but when he does play, he's making an impact. I thought he was very noticeable in the Bruins' recent win over the Red Wings on Saturday. He's got an extremely well-balanced and well-rounded game. Already seems to be earning a lot of trust from the coaching staff. Definitely a pleasant surprise early on this season for the Bruins. As far as the Calder Trophy goes, I don't think the opportunity is really going to be there for him to play enough minutes, get time on special teams, to put up the kind of numbers to compete with the likes of a Luke Hughes, a Logan Cooley, and a Connor Bedard. But he is quickly becoming a very, very important player for the Boston Bruins, not only just for this season, but for the future. He's only 19. This next question comes from Alexis Fillion. Hopefully I said that properly. I apologize if I butchered your name, but the question is, Jordan Dumais is, as expected, crushing the queue. Do you think he's getting called up at some point this year, and what do you think will be his stat line at the end of the year? I'm not expecting him to get called up this season. I think he'll probably spend the entire year with the Mooseheads. He's got 14 points already in 5 games. Like you said, dominating. It wasn't a surprise that he didn't make the Blue Jackets opening night roster, but man, I just hate the rules so much that guys like Jordan Dumais can't play in the AHL. In my opinion, going back to the QMJHL really just doesn't make any sense for his development. The man put up 140 points in 64 Q games last season. He's probably going to finish this season with similar numbers. He's just so much better than the majority of the competition in the QMJHL. There's no way you can convince me that dominating to that extent is good for his development. Moving along now to the next question. This one comes from Schiesler, who says, after a hot start, Alexander Georgiev has been putting up pretty bad numbers lately. Do you think the Avs might be overplaying him as he started every single one of the games this season? And also, really appreciate the kind words. I'm glad you like the videos. I think the answer to this question, without a doubt, is yes, they are overplaying him already. In my opinion, he probably should have got a rest after the 6-game win streak, after he set the franchise record, because in the final 2 games of that 6-game win streak, he let in 4 goals in each of those games. They were still wins, but he wasn't looking as dominant as he did through the first 4 games of the season. Georgiev and the Avs have now lost 2 straight back-to-back 4-0 losses, one to the Penguins and one to the Sabres. Obviously, those losses are not Georgiev's fault. You can't win if you don't score, but I definitely think it's time to start sharing some of the workload there and giving Prosvetov some starts. I know he's unestablished, has yet to start a game in his NHL career, but the Colorado Avalanche are a good enough team as to where they should be able to win games no matter who is in net. Just look at what Tampa Bay is doing with Jonas Johansson as their starter, and they've even given him a night off and started Matt Tompkins. The next question we have comes from Kevin Manzi, who says, is Brock Nelson secretly a top 17 center? He has always been so consistent and has back-to-back 35-plus goal seasons. Brock Nelson is a very underrated player, and like you mentioned, super consistent. It seems like he just continues to get better and better with age. On a team that has the likes of Bo Horvat and Matt Barzal, I think you can honestly make a case that Brock Nelson is the best center on that team over those guys. The next question we have comes from Patrick Kane, who says, how is your fantasy team doing so far? So far, so good for me. I'm 3-0 through the first 3 weeks. Today is the first day of week 4. I'm in second place as there is 2 other guys in my league that are also 3-0. I have the second most points 4 of the 3, so I'm in second. And considering the fact that my first 3 round picks were Matthew Tkachuk, Ilya Sorokin, and Connor Bedard, none of which are lighting the world on fire, I'm pretty happy about being 3-0. My later round picks are really where I'm doing a lot of my damage. Dylan Larkin turned out to be a massive steal for me. Shea Theodore, Tyler Toffoli. Me and my friends are in year 6 of this fantasy league, and I've yet to win it, so hopefully this is my year. It's definitely been a good start. The next question we have comes from Blues Twos King, who says, what's your favorite ever Heritage Classic / Stadium Series game and jersey? I'm going to have to go with the 2014 Winter Classic between the Red Wings and the Maple Leafs. It was in front of over 100,000 fans at Michigan Stadium. It was snowing, which looked great on TV, and it didn't snow enough as to where there was a bunch of delays, and it made the game really difficult to be played. Unfortunately, the Red Wings did lose this game 3-2 to the Maple Leafs in a shootout, but the Red Wings wore probably my favorite Red Wings jersey of all time in this game, so that's a big reason why this is my favorite. And now for the final question of this week's episode, this one comes from Notorious Nick, who says, I have a friend who is a massive Sharks fan. What should I tell him to make him feel better about his trash team? A little bit harsh there, but it's true. The San Jose Sharks are miserable. We are already on our 3rd Ask Me Anything episode of this year's regular season, 3 weeks into the year, and they are 0-8-1, the only team winless in the league. Honestly, if you have a friend that's a Sharks fan, the only thing you should be telling them right now, or the only thing you should be showing them, I should say, is Macklin Celebrini's numbers in the NCAA. 17-year-old forward, projected to go first overall in 2024. He's the youngest player currently playing in the NCAA, and he's got 11 points in 6 games. He's going to be an absolute beast. Following Celebrini throughout the year should be enough to get Sharks fans through the season, or at least up to the draft lottery. Even though we're only 3 weeks into the season, I think it's a lock that that they are finishing with the worst record in the league, and if it's this bad all year and they don't win the draft lottery, that would obviously be absolutely devastating. I know how that feels watching the Red Wings during the 2019-20 season. We got the 4th overall pick. Now, luckily, Raymond is looking better than Lafreniere. No matter what's happened with past year's draft, you want the 1st overall pick, especially in a draft where someone like Celebrini is going to be available. So that would be my advice to Sharks fans. It's kind of crazy that they still haven't won a game. It's almost like their games have become a spectacle at this point because everybody's watching, just waiting to see if they're going to get their first win. So that is going to wrap up this week's episode of the Ask Me Anything series. Like I mentioned at the beginning, huge thank you to every single one of you who participated. Even if your question didn't get featured in the video, just know I read every single one and I appreciate all of you guys. You guys make this series so much fun for me to do. Also, I'll say this one again as well. The link to the GoFundMe for Adam Johnson's family is at the very top of the description. If you guys enjoyed this week's episode, please be sure to leave it a like. That is the best way to show your support. And most importantly, if this was your first time checking out the channel and you want NHL content just like this all year round, hit that subscribe button and I'll talk to you all soon.